Hey everybody, it's GombletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. This will be my final Arena Cube draft of the April 2021 Cube. Strixhaven is right around the corner. It comes out literally tomorrow and I'm incredibly excited for that. We'll have plenty of those drafts coming to you then, but let's give the Arena Cube the proper send-off it deserves and not mention Strixhaven anymore. Let's get entirely into this Cube format for this final draft. So we've got some good duels here. We've got like a Triumph if we want to go hard on the multicolored strategy, go for a 5-color deck. We have Phylath, which is great in rampy decks. They are mainly in like red, green, splashing in other colors. And Phylath is a great card for those decks. Spits out a bunch of plants and keeps you making them bigger off of landfall. Super powerful card. Overwhelming Splendor is a good top-end card in a more controlling kind of deck. It does really shut your opponents off. All of their cards just lose all of their activated abilities, except for loyalty abilities. That is kind of a bummer. I have lost to a Planeswalker when I had an Overwhelming Splendor out, and I was like, is that really necessary? Did it have to let Planeswalker stay? It's an 8-mana card. But other than that, it can beat almost anything else. But it is a ton of mana. Finale of Devastation is good at the top end in green decks. A lot of options here. I do like Phylath a lot. I just do love those land-based ramp decks, and Phylath is pretty insane in those. Get a bunch of tokens and start landfalling them into a giant field of 4/5s. So Phylath is a very powerful card here. Pretty happy to first pick that. Now we have Wayward Swordtooth, which can allow us to play additional lands each turn. Works very well with any tokens, such as with like Phylath, because that will help you ascend faster, get more permanents onto your field, so this can start attacking or blocking. If this ever gets to attack or block, it is very above the curve as 5 power and toughness for only 3 mana. So I do like this Wayward Swordtooth a lot, just combos well with Phylath. Seems like a pretty good pick here. We also have Return of the Wildspeaker, which could be interesting if you have a lot of creature tokens and you're going wide. The second ability on this, to give everything +3/+3 till end of turn, can often be a lethal swing. You can also draw cards off of this, so like if we had Phylath out, we could draw 5. That is interesting, does seem like a decent combo with Phylath there. But Wayward Swordtooth is just kind of the perfect card for these sort of ramp decks. And Garruk's Uprising here. It is early enough to take a Garruk's Uprising and draft around it pretty heavily. Right now, both of our other cards do trigger the Garruk's Uprising. This gives your whole field trample, and when you're playing creatures with power 4 or greater, you're drawing a card every time. So great combo with these two, especially the cheaper your creatures are, the better. So really good combo with like Wayward Swordtooth. If we turn 3 this and turn 4 the Swordtooth, that'll be a great game. Chromatic Lantern can be good in the more multicolored splashy ramp decks, like the 5-color ramp decks, stuff like that. Thief of Sanity is very good, but we're not really looking to Dimir right now, with all our picks being green-red. Toski's nice if you have a lot of creatures. If you're going wide, putting a ton of creatures onto the board, it can be solid there. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, Earthshaker can are great in like mono-red. We're just going to take that Garruk's Uprising pretty easily. We do see an Incubation Druid to ramp us up. That'll be solid. Tristani Discordant, if we push a little more towards white here, maybe be green, red, white, have a little bit of a go wide theme, making a bunch of creature tokens and stuff. That could be okay. Doesn't combo super well with Garruk's Uprising, but could combo well with Phylath, just be like Naya creature tokens. I think Incubation Druid works like the best with what we have right now, but Tristani might be a little bit stronger at face value. I guess actually Sarkhan might work better than Incubation Druid, because Sarkhan does spit out 4/4s. So if we get a creature token out of Sarkhan, we do draw a card off of Uprising. Actually, yeah, Sarkhan seems pretty solid here, but the other two are definite options. And Sarkhan's Unsealing. Whenever you cast a creature with power 4, 5, or 6, deal 4 to any targets. We are already looking for power 4 or greater creatures with Garruk's Uprising. We'll have the Garruk Sarkhan Dream Team here. Peanut Butter Jelly. Deck. Yeah, it's early enough in the draft. These are both the kind of cards you want to take very early in the draft so that you can be consciously looking for creatures of the correct sizes to cast with these. And Gruul is definitely the color scheme for those big creatures. Sarkhan's Unsealing plus Garruk's Uprising? Let's go for it. If we weren't taking Unsealing here, we'd definitely take something like Mechagodzilla. It is pretty early in the draft, and this goes into any deck you end up in, and it's a great card every time, so Mechagodzilla is pretty nice, but it's the final Arena Cube draft. Let's do something a little crazy, something a little different, go really hard on the Power 4 or greater theme, if we can. We have 2 red-green dual lands that'll both be incredible, but Essica's Chariot is an incredibly hard-to-beat limited card, even in the cube. It's just like 8 power and toughness for 4 mana, absolutely insane. For 4 mana, you get 2 2/2s. Those 2/2s crew this vehicle for that to be a 4/4 vehicle, and anytime the vehicle attacks, you get to copy a creature token you control. Actually, literally any token you control. If you somehow have a token that's like a copy of an enchantment or something, you could copy that. So this card is just nuts. Crewing this thing and then attacking him with a 4/4, spitting out another 2/2, you basically got a 4/4 and 3 2/2s for 4 mana if it attacks one time. Just an absurd card. We're going to take Essica's Chariot here. Vraska's an option if we're going a little splashy here, throw in some Jund cards, or the red-green duels are options, but Essica's Chariot is just one absolute beater of a card. I do like Shadow Spear in creature-heavy decks, and with Garruk's Uprising, I think, well, Garruk's Uprising and Sarkhan's Unsealing, we are looking for a lot of like Power 4 or greater creatures. Skewer the Critics could be okay in Gruul here. Nice early game removal spell. Soulscar Mage a little less so. There are some things that it combos quite well with. I guess it does combo with Sarkhan's Unsealing. All of a sudden that 4 damage to any target is putting 4 -1/-1 counters on something. But 4 damage to any target is usually just going to kill it anyway. Yeah, these red cards are definite options here, actually, either of these, Skewer or Soulscar Mage, but I do really like the Shadow Spear. +1/+1 trample, lifelink, incredibly good in aggressive-based matchups, and even if you're against a more controlling deck, just the +1/+1 and trample are really good. But obviously the lifelink is the part that's absolutely huge if you're against another aggressive deck. This will be a pretty easy Kazandu Mammoth. Fanatical Firebrand is just a really small card, so unless you want a lot of really cheap, really aggressive creatures, it's not great for your deck. If you're like mono-red, red-white, or red-black, those are the best strategies for the Firebrand, because those can tend to utilize it the best, being really quick strategies. And red-black, you even care about sacrificing things, so you might even get value when you sacrifice this, thanks to some other effect, so just not for green-red here. Well, almost definitely just scooping up this Rootbound Crag here. Our other options are Wilderness Reclamation or Integrity and Intervention. Wilderness Reclamation, I haven't seen a deck where this works great, but I have to assume the best strategy for it would be green and blue. This card only really works well if you have ways to use your mana in your opponent's turn, so you either have mana sinks on your cards on the board, or you have a bunch of instant speed cards. Our deck has neither of that. Everything in our entire deck is sorcery speed right now. We don't have any mana sinks except for Shadow Spear's 1 mana ability, so we have absolutely nothing to do with our mana, even if we're untapping all of our lands to cast something instant speed. We just don't have any instants here, and we're not likely to, with Uprising and Sarkhan's Sealing being the game plan here. We do see that Return of the Wild Speaker again, and now we have a little bit more token production. We're also going for that Power 4 or greater theme, so we're likely to have big creatures to draw a lot of cards off of. I could see Return to the Wild Speaker being good here, but Insult to Injury is also an option. Doubling our damage and then shooting something. I'll try out the Return of the Wild Speaker. Garruk theme deck here, Garruk's Uprising and Return of the Wild Speaker. We'll see if we can't get a Garruk himself. And I don't think I'm playing any of this. I suppose we could play a Field of Ruin just in case we play against a Field of the Dead. Definitely not a Prophetic Prism in green. We're going to have like creatures or ramp spells to mana fix us rather than just a little artifact. We'll show everybody that Azorius is wide open. Oh yeah, every card is just going to be blue and white at the end here. Oh yeah. Someone could have a great start to an Azorius control deck here with how late that Overwhelming Splendor and stuff went as well. This is a great pack for us. We have 2 really solid options. 3 really solid options, actually. We have Toralf, God of Fury, which I didn't even recognize as an option because it is a very new card, so I'm not super familiar with it yet, but 4 mana for a 5/4 trample. Whenever you're doing excess non-combat damage, you can deal that to any other target. That's really interesting. So if your creatures are overkilling, then you do the excess damage to their other creatures or their face. That's really cool. I kind of like that ability. I really want to try that out. At the same time, though, Verdurous Gearhulk is just so big for its mana cost. A 5 mana 8/8 by itself. Otherwise, a 5 mana 4/4, you spread those +1/+1 counters out onto a bunch of things. Gearhulk is definitely great, as is the Ulvenwald Hydra, but it is the most expensive card. We're actually looking more just straight up aggressive than rampy, so not as interested in Ulvenwald Hydra as these two. I think I'm going to take Toralf here and try that effect out. That just seems like a really fun effect to attempt to do if we can. So we'll try Toralf here, although definitely Verdurous Gearhulk is a very good option there, followed by that Ulvenwald Hydra. Sword of Body and Mind is a great card in a deck with a lot of creatures. We can just scoop up another equipment here, have Shadow Spear and the sword. If we're taking something in green or red, it's Plane-Wide Celebration. That doesn't really seem like our kind of thing here. Not really our cup of tea. More like a Demon Bolt would be the card we're looking for. Oh my god, I misread Toralf. It's when we deal excess non-combat damage. Well, I definitely should have just taken the Verdurous Gearhulk, but a 4 mana 5/4 is still great with Unsealing and Uprising. Yeah, I'll just take a Demon Bolt then. I guess that does combo with Toralf. And we already do have Shadow Spear for equipment. We are just kind of creatures that are big enough that they don't need to be suited up to be great here, so looking pretty good. Chandra is a really powerful card, but she's better in more controlling strategies or just slower, more rampy strategies, because she's really good at stopping your opponent's stuff, like wiping the board with the -3, getting rid of their best card with that -X. The +2 kills your opponent slowly. I don't really love it as the top end for an aggressive Gruul strategy like what we're doing here, so I'm more like Llanowar Elves here. Just a 1/1 that all of a sudden now we can play our 3-drops on turn 3. We have a lot of 3 mana cards already. Not a ton, I mean 4 of them, but turn 1 Llanowar Elves into a 3 mana card on turn 2 is always a great time, especially if we just like throw out Wayward Swordtooth turn 2. We could really ramp out with that. There are some definite dream draws we could have with the Llanowar Elves in our deck. I do like this red-green pathway for mana fixing here. Although if we're just 2 colors, our mana should not be that bad. And Beanstalk Giant's nice because it's mana fixing, ramp, and a big creature in the late game. A lot of solid cards for us here. We have the red-green dual land, we have the Paradise Druid and the Beanstalk Giant for mana ramp. We have Banefire and Lava Coil as ways to get things out of the way. Yeah, Beanstalk Giant might be a little expensive. Maybe we just make sure we can get that red-green duel and make sure our mana is really good. We do have a double green card turn 2. We got double red up there. Just have a really good mana base. Could also just see Lava Coil with Toralf as well. Actually, let's scoop up a Lava Coil here. Just get more cards to combo with that Toralf that we picked up. I'm slamming Fauna Shaman. This is like my favorite card in the cube. I just have an incredible time every time I have Fauna Shaman. This card is just insane if it starts doing its thing, because in any creature-based green deck, you're likely going to have a lot of creatures at least varying mana costs, but even potentially with a bunch of various effects that are very good in specific situations and worse in others. So like in this deck, say we have a hand where we have a Fauna Shaman turn 2, but then we just have like a 6 mana creature and a 4 mana creature, and we only have 3 lands. Fauna Shaman makes that hand incredibly keepable and incredibly good because we can just like discard Phylath and grab a Gazandu Mammoth or something instead. And then when we top deck cards like Llanowar Elves on turn 7, we can just discard the Llanowar Elves to grab a Phylath. Fauna Shaman is just an exceptional card, and I have a great time every time I play her. Like Lifecrafter's Bestiary here, green decks aren't usually going to be able to draw a ton of cards, so the ways that do are always good. I guess we do already have a Garruk's Uprising, so we have a little bit of card draw already, but the Bestiary is just great. Scry 1 every turn, and later in the game, if you have extra mana when you're casting your creatures, you can start drawing a card off of every single one. Embercleave is an option as well if we're aggressive enough. That wants you to have a really aggressive curve. We only have 6 creatures right now, so I'm not super certain about Embercleave, although it is a big game-ending card. I guess with Garruk's Uprising already, we do have some card draw already. Return of the Wildspeaker as well. We could try out Embercleave. Definitely want to get our curve more in order for the Embercleave to be great here, though. So hopefully that happens. Resilient Kenra helps a lot. Great 2-drop. 2 mana for a 2/2, give another creature +2/+2 till end of turn, and you get to cast it later as a 6 mana 4/4 that gives something +4/+4 until end of turn. Let's get rid of our, well, not get rid of them, but let's set aside our non-creature stuff so we can see how our creature curve looks for Embercleave, because we want a lot of decently cheap creatures so we can get like 4 creatures attacking as quickly as possible to cast Embercleave for like 2. There's nothing we're going to play here. We're not going to splash in blue, more likely than not, but we're definitely not playing Animation Module. It's just too much of a mana sink to go off. So I guess we take the blue-red duel. Plain-White Celebration's not going to be a thing here. It's just a lot of mana. Although the Sigiled Sword, powerful effect, but kind of slow. 3 mana to play this and 3 mana to equip. You kind of have to take 2 turns off to do that if you play it turn 3 or turn 4. If you draw it late game, sure, you can just spend 6 mana, play it, and equip it, but it's a pretty slow card for that reason. It does just do some pretty insane things if it does go off, though. Showdown of the Scalds or the Scattered Groves. I think I'll take the Showdown here, because the kind of white card I would want to splash would be Showdown of the Scalds, so if I just don't take the kind of white card I'd want to splash, I would never want the Scattered Groves anyway. So now we take the Showdown. If we end up with a little bit of red-white or green-white sources, we can play that. And just fantastic cards for Azorius Control. Going to wheel really late here. I guess the Pathway will scoop up. Primal Might is very solid here. We're just a green-red deck with some beefy creatures on curve, so Primal Might can be a 1-mana removal spell quite often for us. We can play an Ovia. She helps the curve for the Embercleave and gives us a late-game mana sink. So I like Essica tapping for mana. I like Elder Gargaroth a lot. If it's not killed immediately, this card is pretty ridiculous, doing a very powerful effect every time it attacks or blocks. It's also just above the curve, 5 mana 6/6 Vigilance Reach Trample. This card is real good. I think I like the Elder Gargaroth here. Again, I don't think we're that rampy that we really want, like, Explore. And we do already have Lava Coil, Demon Bolt, Ram Through, Primal Might. We're doing great on removal, so not super interested in Inscription of Abundance, because that is what this does best. It is kind of a removal spell here. We are pretty low on creatures. Like, this is all our creatures right here. Gargaroth is definitely looking like what we're missing the most here. Definitely not a Waking the Trolls deck, because that is another card. Big, rampy, game-ending kind of card. We're not rampy, we're more aggressive in our Gruul deck here, so a Thrash Threat is definitely better. A removal spell or a 4-mana 4/4 creature. We'll put it at the 4-mana 4/4 slot right now, because I think we'll be casting it as a creature more often, because we just don't have a lot. We have 9 right now. Fauna Shaman is actually looking pretty bad in this deck, unfortunately, because we are not... just don't have a lot of creatures, and we're in pack 3 now, so we have to scoop up every creature we see. Really hoping for more. Looks like green and red are some pretty popular colors getting drafted right now in this pod. I guess we have Chainweb Arachneer. We're definitely looking for more creatures with Embercleave, but this one is pretty mediocre. Has a great escape ability, though, coming back as a 4/5. Maybe I just take the dual land, though, because yeah, it is so mediocre. I guess it's good with Fauna Shaman. Discard that to search up something, and then it's in the grave for escape. So yeah, cards like this that eternalize, or cards that escape, are both good with Fauna Shaman. I do kind of like it for that. I would like to take the dual land, but we need more creatures. We have 10 right now. We want like 17 in this sort of deck. We want a lot of them. And some of our creatures aren't even creatures. Like this Thrash and Threat and Essica's Chariot, they're not technically creatures, so they don't help Fauna Shaman. They don't help Sarkhan's Unsealing, because Sarkhan's Unsealing goes on the cast. Alright, Thrashing Brontodon seems solid here. There is that green-white duel, though, for splashing in that Showdown of the Scalds, but I think I'd rather just have the consistent Gruul deck than splash in that one white card. Brontodon's great. Just a 3-mana 3/4 on curve is good in aggressive decks, and you can blow up an artifact or enchantment later if they have one, so it's main deckable artifact enchantment hate. Definitely like Dragonkin Berserker the best here. super good with Embercleave, and if this ever gets to boast, you're having a fantastic time. Castle Garenbrig is solid here, but again, this is our final pack. We've got to take those good creatures while we can. It's our last opportunity to do so. Palladium Mirror's like okay in here. Like our curve is, we're not ramping up into much with that, but we do still want more creatures. Could take the Sacred Foundry for the Showdown of the Scalds, but I really don't think I'm going to end up splashing that. We already have a 24 card deck right now because we have 25. One of them is a land. So we would definitely have to cut some stuff for the Showdown. Not super pumped about that. I don't think that's happening. I'll just take Palladium Mirror. I like the Pyromancer better than the Goblin Banneret in our deck. I don't think we're wanting to spend that extra mana to buff it up to Mentor at all, because we want to curve out as well as we can. Just take a Pyromancer. Torbjorn's a little bit of a hard sell, being triple red. Thinking Rimrock Knight over that. Greenseeker is a really good card because this can draw you out of Mana Flood really easily. Every single turn, anytime there's a land on top, you just draw it. However, I think we're getting really aggressive here. I'd much rather have like the 3-power 2-drop that can also buff a creature. Just works pretty well with what we're sort of going for. Unfortunately, did not end up with a lot of those big green-red creatures because I just think that the other people drafting green and red here are definitely drafting like the more rampy sort of strategies. So we're getting stuck with the more aggressive Gruul cards. So we're just turning into that sort of deck instead of our initial plan of the slower, bigger version with the Uprising Unsealing. So we probably can't play on Seal. I'm sorry, probably can't play on Sealing anymore, but we might be able to play Uprising. We'll see. I don't want to play any of these. Well, there's a red-white duel if we do go for the Showdown, and a green-white duel if we go for the Showdown. Yeah, maybe after cutting both Uprising and... Okay, we get 3 white dual lands, so Splashing and Showdown of the Scalds just got dramatically easier. So that's actually a pretty decent possibility now. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we have 3 white duels now. See how the deck looks. Just Gruul first. Okay, we need to cut 4 cards out of this deck. How many cards do we have that genuinely combo with Sarkhan's Unsealing? We need creature spells that we are casting with power 4, 5, 6, or more. We have not enough, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 cards in the whole deck that combo with Sarkhan's Unsealing. That just seems like not enough to pan out there, so we'll definitely cut that one. How about Garruk's Uprising? Because with Garruk's Uprising, we also combo with some of our token producers. So we have potentially boasting with Dragonkin Berserker will trigger that. Not really gonna count that. I'll give like half a point. So we got half a card there that combos with it. 1 from Wayward Swordtooth. So we got 1.5, 2, 3, 4.5. Threat, so 5.5. Sarkhan, 6.5. Eska's Chariot doesn't count. So we have 6 or 7 if you count Dragonkin Berserker for Garruk's Uprising. That's... I don't know, that's not great. It's not great. It's very close. I think we're like on that line of cutting Uprising. Definitely going to put it in the maybe pile at the very least. Palladium Mirror I am feeling like cutting here, but we only have 15 creatures. Eska's Chariot is more creatures, so we have 15, 16, 17, 18. If you count Sarkhan, because Sarkhan's always going to make a 4/4 dragon when he comes in. And you count Chariot because it makes 2/2/2s. You count Threat because we'll often just be casting that as a 4/4. So we kind of have 18 creatures right now. I'd like to have probably like 17 here is enough. So I think I can cut the one Palladium Mirror here. Lower our curve a little bit. Yeah, get rid of the ramp card and then lower the curve a little. Maybe like get rid of Return of the Wild Speaker or something. We only have to cut 2 cards here. Embercleave we're hopefully casting for like 3 mana. If we attack with 3 creatures, it only costs 3 mana to attack with this. So I'll put it at 3 or 4 here. I don't think I cut a land. I could see Uprising and Return of the Wild Speaker being the cuts here. Return could still be okay in this deck. Actually, yeah, I mean, both halves of this card could be good in the right situation. You know, drawing cards, sometimes we're going to have a 5-power God out, or 6-power Beast, or 5-power Elemental, 4-power Dragon, all that kind of stuff allows us to draw 4+ cards with Return. Alternatively, if we've just curved out well with a ton of creatures, this could finish somebody off with a +3/+3. Do we have any humans in the deck? We have Ovaya, Dragonkin Berserker. We only have 2 humans in our deck, so most of our deck gets +3/+3. And everything in our deck combos with the draw cards part, because none of our big creatures are humans. Maybe we have a bit much in terms of removal here. We have Lava Coil, Primal Might, Demon Bolt, Thrash Threat. I think I am cutting Uprising, but then I need one more cut. And we could cut one of these random removal spells. I kind of like cutting Primal Might, maybe, before cutting Ram Through, just because Ram Through, our creature doesn't have to take any damage, but Primal Might does also double as a pump spell, and it only costs 1 to do it. Yeah, Primal Might should almost always, like, our creatures are the kind of creatures that can win fights unless we're in, like, a mirror match. I'll cut a Ram Through here then. Keep that Primal Might. Maybe even Shadow Spear, though. Maybe we just don't have the time to dilly-dally with dumping mana into equip costs. We definitely have a decent amount of cards here that would be great if we were in a best 2 out of 3 draft, because then against the aggressive decks, we just pull in all of our fight spells, pull in the Shadow Spear, stuff like that. And then if we're against more controlling decks, we definitely get rid of like Shadow Spear, get rid of all of the fight spells and removal, and then we can throw back in like Unsealing and Uprising and just try to go off with those kind of things instead. Palladium Mirror can come back in. Sigiled Sword definitely better against control than Shadow Spear. But I think for just the best of 1 meta here, just going against your general mid-rangey kind of strategies, I think this build is pretty solid. I love how when you cut it, you're like actively removing the text from the card. Just dusting the Shadow Sphere. It's so sad. Alright, for that, I'll just leave it in for that reason. How's our mana looking? We have 14 green, 10 red. We've got an even split here. We do need 2 green mana on our 3 mana cards. Don't need 2 red mana. I guess we need 2 red on Embercleave. That could be cast on turn 3. Double green on Gargaroth. I think an even split seems fine to me here. Alright, so here we have our final Arena Cube draft deck. Gonna end it off with a pretty standard Gruul aggro deck. We are going to crush them, and then we will eat, in the words of Borborygmos. Alright, turn 1 Llanowar. No 3-drop to play, but we can play Toralf on turn 3. Seems good to me. Definitely going to start off with the Llanowar Elves this game. If we draw a 3-mana card, we'll dump that out. If not, I guess we're playing Ovaya Pashiri. Could play the hammer if I want, but I think I'd rather just have a 5/4 trample. Send in for one. There's no like 1-mana flash creature in blue in the cube. Actually, there is one. There's a single one. It's a flash 1/1 flyer. But I don't think they'd make that trade because that can also draw cards in the late game. Maybe they would just to slow our mana ramp down. Actually seems reasonable. Alright, come on out, Toralf. I sincerely hope that we're not playing against whoever was in blue-white in our draft pod, because blue-white was wide open for an Azorius control deck. So they certainly have all the gas if they are from our draft pod. Now we do have Elder Gargaroth this turn. We do have to start getting a little worried about a Wrath. I think I still want to cast Elder Gargaroth, but I don't really want to... Actually, no, I can just use this to make a 4/4. Yeah, no, there's no reason to overcommit here. We can use Pashiri's ability to just make a 4/4, and that plays around a counterspell, it plays around a Wrath, and it's not that much worse than a big old 6/6 when our opponent's already down to 13 facing several creatures. So I like just going for the ability here, just get a 4/4. I will wait till the last moment then, though, so we can see what they're doing here. I don't know if there is a reason to just do it right now. I guess if I do it right now, they can't use an instant speed removal spell to make it any smaller. If I do it right now, they've got 1 mana up, so I just make a 4/4. But if I do this like during their end step, they could respond with an instant speed removal spell to kill Toralf, and then I just make a 3/3 instead. But also if I do it now, that leaves me open to any bounce spells. If they have something to put the construct back into my hand, they can permanently kill it. If they have that at like sorcery speed. I don't know which is better, to do it in their end step or just do it during our end step there. But I think it's definitely better to use that ability rather than overcommit to the board in case they have a Wrath. They are blue-white control, and we have a firm lead, plenty of ways to kill them without it. Oh, that's kind of weird. I guess it does not count itself towards the total. So it just makes a 3/3 or a 2/2 there if they killed something in response. Okay. I'm just going to keep on using the Life Crafter's ability here. Should be more than enough to close this game out. If they can't kill just everything we have. Put Toralf back on top. Could respond with the ability there. But if they are... if they're using that instead of a Wrath, then I might actually just Gargaroth here. Because I thought it was a 4/4. A 3/3 is actually like a lot smaller than a 6/6. And now, even if they Wrath us after I play Gargaroth, we still have Phylath, Toralf, and... I mean, the Arachnir is not much, but we still have Toralf and Phylath if they Wrath us. Okay, we get a 3/1 that can't block. So you just hit for 3. Oh, they meant to bounce. They meant to bounce the 3/3. That is unfortunate. Now we have yet another reason to get our 6/6 out. So we have a blocker for the 3/1 flyer. We could also play the Arachnir and just kill Brazen Borrower, but it doesn't block anything anyway. So it just hits us for 3. I'm okay with getting hit for 3. Let's see. What is the next? Our non-creature spells cost more to play. Seems fine to me. I think we just hit them for 3. We can do a Toralf and a Chainweb Arachnir, or we can do a Chainweb Arachnir and just make a token. Just go for the token again. Probably just should have played the Arachneer last turn. Sure, it wasn't like, there wasn't a massive reason to do it, but there was absolutely no reason not to do it, so it's like a might as well kind of thing. Just stop 3 damage if they happen to have the removal. You just attack all here? Not quite, but I think I'll attack with everything but the Life Crafter, because now we've just got enough untapped lands to use her. They block the 4/4, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll use the... Ooh, they get to reuse their removal spell here. Or make another 4/4? Oh, wow, they can actually make another 4/4 there. That's pretty big. They block these 2 and just take 2 now. I'm going to go ahead and use the Life Crafter while I can still get a 5/5 out of her. Well, we were playing playing around a Wrath effect that seems like it will never appear here, so that may have cost us. I don't know if it would have cost us the game, because they did happen to have all of the removal for every big threat we played, so it was still nice to just get tokens out. Rather than our big cards, every time we tried to get our actual big cards out, they got stopped. So, I don't know if we could have like lethaled them, but we could have maybe been more aggressive. Because now that they have the board that they have, it's very unlikely that their plan is to Wrath anytime soon, even if they have one in hand. Shark Typhoon is the play. Would definitely love our... I forget what it's called. Our Thrashing Brontodon against that sort of card. So flyers aren't awesome here, so I don't really think I need to drop Sarkhan. I kind of like playing Esseka's Chariot, just going wide with the amount of creatures we could be attacking with, and if the Chariot itself attacks, we can create a copy of a 5/5, which is great. I like playing the Chariot here. Ooh, Toralf's Hammer does 3 damage to a face. Actually, they only have 1 mana up here? Yeah, we'll just dump this out too. We only have to hit them with the hammer twice to kill them. Because that's 6 damage total if we hit twice. Yeah, the hammer itself actually getting cast here. I didn't think that was going to be that likely. Thought just, 4 mana 5/4. Decent little upside was fine in an aggressive deck, but the hammer actually maybe coming in clutch here. Because they're going to have plenty of blockers. So any way that we have to deal damage to them without having to attack is going to be great. If they don't have a counterspell, that is just like lethal. I definitely like the Chainweb Arachneer chump block here for multiple reasons. We're pretty low on life, and it also goes to the grave to potentially escape it later. If we escape it later, it comes back as a 4/5 reach, which can actually block and kill things. We don't have enough cards in grave right now, but if the game goes long, if they counter our Toralf's Hammer when we try to recast it or something. If they don't have a counterspell, then yeah, Toralf's Hammer just kills them now. We do need 2 untapped creatures to do that, though. Cast a Cold Steel Heart, get another shark. I'm trying to think how many untapped creatures I need, because I kind of also want to push an attack that might force them to use any instant speed removal. But I really can't on this board state. They have a 5/6, a 4/4, and 2 2/2s already. We're not going to have any attacks that look good at all. Especially if we have to hold 2 creatures back to tap with our Toralf's Hammer. Search for Azcanta. That means they only have 1 mana up. I don't see how that could be a counterspell for just 1. I guess it could be Spell Pierce. Spell Pierce would get me, but unless they have literally Spell Pierce, And then hammer should get him here. Oh, you have to unattach and return the hammer to hand? Oh, then we don't. I thought you just had to unattach. You have to spend 2 mana and unattach it and put it to hand. Wow, that's insane. So it's gotta be 4 mana each time. So we can't do that twice. We can only do it once. I have nothing else I could even cast here, though. Do we just die to the flyers, then? Can't escape Arachnia. We don't have enough cards in grave. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We just die to the flyers, then. I guess we had to play Sarkhan, make a blocker. We block there, take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Still die if we just cast Sarkhan, because then we're not playing Hammer. Well, that'll just do it. Wow, the hammer is really, really expensive. I don't like that at all. Yeah, I was wondering why I wasn't even considering the hammer, and I guess it's because I read the card once a long time ago and realized that it was just 1,000,000 mana to do it. Wait, no, it's not. It's not 4 mana per time, it's 6 mana. 2 mana to play it, 2 mana to equip it, 2 mana to throw it. It's 6 mana every time for the 3 damage. We have a tiny chance if they don't attack with everybody here. Okay. If they don't have a pump spell, we do 3 damage with the hammer and then we recast it and do 3. They probably have a counterspell now, though. If that's the attack you make, I think you just have a counterspell. Or a life gain, like a Sphinx's Revelation. They scoop him up. Oh my god. I guess they didn't. I don't know what the attack... Okay. Maybe playing around like a fog or something. And not realizing that the hammer could go face. I'm not sure. I did not have any reach blockers there. That was crazy. Definitely a pretty lucky end to that game. Our opponent was playing around a card that unfortunately we did not have. So we're 1-0. Right after I trash-talked the hammer as well. Maybe it's because they heard me trash-talk the hammer and they wanted to make it look a little better. They're like, well, that's just rude. It'd be nicer to your Toralf's hammer. See, look, it's going to win you the game. There you go. I'll keep this hand. Definitely would like to hit like 1 more mana, but pretty great otherwise. I mean, we can play Rimrock turn 2 and then just equip it with Spear. Even if we don't hit any more lands, just start hitting with a 4/2 trample lifelink every turn. Could also play Fauna Shaman, which is good, because then we can like get rid of Chainweb Arachnia to draw something else. Definitely helps us draw more creatures that are cheap enough to cast. Opponent starts with Knight of the Ebon Legion. That makes me feel like probably somewhat aggressive here. So trying to like race with Rimrock doesn't seem awesome, although Rimrock plus Shadow Spear can definitely win a race. This is a hard choice, Fauna Shaman or Rimrock Knight here. Fauna Shaman's like better if we top deck a land, because then we can discard Chainweb Arachneer and grab another 2-mana creature and just play it immediately. So Rimrock Knight I think is better if we don't draw land. It's like rather than go with the kind of coin flippy play, we can just drop the Knight here. Like Fauna Shaman's great if we hit another forest specifically, so not even any land, but we have to hit really a forest for Fauna Shaman to be awesome. Because then we can use her ability and cast a 2-mana green creature, because I know that we have some great ones in the deck. We did not hit the land, so I'm kind of happy with the Rimrock Knight. However, if we attempt to equip Shadow Spear, they may just respond with a removal spell. I still think that's better than dropping Fauna Shaman out, because if Rimrock Knight pulls a removal spell from their deck, it's one less removal spell for Fauna Shaman, and I think Fauna Shaman's pretty important here. So I'm fine with the removal. They're going to Abrade. Alright, stop the lifelink here. And they may take the trade with the Knight now. Yeah, Abrade's pretty good. Main deckable artifact. Hate to stop our lifelink in an aggressive matchup. Looks like we are going to trade Rimrock Knight for the Knight of the Ebon Legion. Opponent has hit their third land here. They drop down a Chromatic Lantern. Now I'm very interested in what they're playing. Abrade and Knight of the Ebon Legion lead themselves very well to an aggressive deck. Chromatic Lantern more to a ramp deck. Could be like Rakdos splashing in like some blue or something, like Grixis. I don't know. I don't know what. Maybe they're just like the full Jund. Definitely a lot of different ways to speculate here. Well, because we don't have any extra lands to play with Wayward Swordtooth here, I'd much rather play the Fauna Shaman out. Because Wayward Swordtooth doesn't do anything here. We don't have any additional lands to play, and it won't be able to attack and block for quite a while. Golden Egg, more mana fixing. It may be a very multicolored deck. This egg can sacrifice for a mana of any color, or they can just gain some life off of it. Phyrexian Arena. So now they get to draw additional cards every turn. Can't Fauna Shaman into anything green and cast it immediately. Could grab a red card that costs 3 or less. See what we have here. Arachneer's not doing anything for us anyway. Could grab Kazandu Mammoth as a green source here, actually. That is pretty great. Yeah, no. See, this is where Fauna Shaman's so good. Like, I don't even realize some ways that she's good. Like this specific way where I really want a second green source for Gargaroth. She's just wonderful for that. Just grab us a land when we need it. This card is absolutely wonderful. She wears the talismans of every creature she can evoke. That is not enough talismans then. She can evoke every creature in the game. There's like probably 10,000 by now. There are definitely thousands. I want an updated version of this card with the same flavor text where the artwork is just a gigantic just landfill. You can't even see Fauna Shaman anymore. Just a landfill of nothing but emblems or talismans. No. Well, that was sad. I'm sorry, Fauna Shaman. I'm 100% gonna pick up a Fauna Shaman for my commander decks now. I've only ever cast Fauna Shaman on Magic Arena in the Arena Cube, but it just became one of my favorite cards of all time from that exclusively. Opponent has Rekindling Phoenix. Whenever it dies, it can just keep coming back. Eventually. Well, Chainweb Arachnier can kill that one time, but one time is not enough to permanently kill it. We can just play Gargaroth because it's big enough to block it. Although, I would expect 2 cards in hand plus drawing 2 per turn. They may be able to just remove Gargaroth with something here. If not, though, Gargaroth will be sweet. Big old 6/6. Can even draw 6 cards off of it with Return of the Wildspeaker if it's still around on our next turn. I feel if they had removal for it, even if it's instant speed removal, they'd use it in the main phase so they can attack in. So if they gave us another turn, I would just hard cast Return of the Wildspeaker to draw cards. That was actually a brutal removal spell for them to have. Perfect for the situation. They get to kill our creature on board and stop our escape card from coming back. Very solid in that position. I guess I play Wayward Swordtooth. And then I can use Thrash to kill one of their creatures at instant speed if I need to. And it also opens me up to being able to draw cards off Return of the Wildspeaker next turn. Yeah, that's literally my only option. I guess I could play a 4/4 instead of the Swordtooth, so I could just play something big enough to block the zombie. Might be okay. We draw 1 less card off of Return of the Wildspeaker that way. But then, yeah, I can actually just block the zombie instead of throwing a Thrash at it. Seems okay to me. Like, Thrash is just not great against Rekindling Phoenix. We have to kill this thing twice or exile it. So hopefully we can just dig towards a Lava Coil or something like that to get rid of this. Very much not the game for our Embercleave, unfortunately. We're unlikely to attack with more than 1 creature. I'd say possibly at any point in the whole game. But definitely at this point. They have a Midnight Reaper to draw a card anytime one of their non-token creatures dies. Should kind of just Rakdos Sacrifice. I guess they could just be using the Lantern for the mana ramp. Because yeah, Midnight Reaper, definitely good for Rakdos Sack. Rekindling Phoenix, good for Rakdos Sack. There's Sarkhan. Draw a bunch of cards, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 permanents is not ascending, so we don't have enough permanents to attack or block with the Swordtooth. I think we just draw off of Return of the Wildspeaker and hope for the best. Phylath, Viashino Pyromancer, and Dragonkin Berserker. Phylath's our best option, but we just don't have the defense against these flyers. Yeah, no. Return on Chainweb Arachnier was incredible here. Because a 4/5 reach is big enough to block either of those flyers. I think that was the best out that we had in our deck against the flyers that they have here. Without it, we're kind of out in the water without a paddle.
I summon you.
Oh yeah, Sarkhan can make himself a dragon, so we're just like straight lethal there. I guess our only option was to attempt to attack Sarkhan with our beast, then they block with Midnight Reaper. Sarkhan takes 2 and dies. So if we attacked Sarkhan with our beast, we could either kill their dragon token or kill Sarkhan, in which case that couldn't attack, but then our one attacker would not be able to block because it's tapped down, in which case we take 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and whichever survives, either Sarkhan or the dragon deals 4 more damage, so dead either way. But attacking Sarkhan with the beast may have been a choice. So we are down to 1-1. Average start to start it off here. Ooh, turn 2 Dragonkin Berserker, turn 1 Shadow Spear, so I only have to pay for the equip cost later. Not so sure about the turn 3 Mammoth. We only have one green source right now, so it's not a guarantee, but it could come up. If we can't cast Mammoth turn 3, we can just suit up a Dragonkin Berserker. Playing against Dimir, blue and black. You definitely get to discard a mountain here. Midnight Clock adds a mana, and in the very late game, they get to shuffle their hand and graveyard back into their library and draw 7. Really solid card. It's like a mana rock in the early game, and then later on, after you've dumped your hand, you just get a refill one time. So it can be quite good. Don't really think I'm going to Demon Bolt their 1-2. I think I just want to equip the spear and just go in. I also don't want to play my Mammoth as a land, so we'll just play this mountain. Champion of Wits. Draw 2, discard 2, and they can eternalize it later on as a 4/4. And then they draw 4, discard 2. They discarded a Vraska's Contempt and a Jace. Jace, obviously they don't have the 3rd blue for yet, but Vraska's Contempt is interesting. That probably means that they have another better way to kill the Dragonkin Berserker. Because they gotta kill it within the next 2 turns. Next turn I'll have 4 mana out. The turn after that I'll have 5, in which case I can attack and make a 5/5. And they definitely don't want to let that happen. Elder Gargaroth. Well, now I think I have to just play this Mammoth as Kazandu Valley. That way next turn I can either make a 5/5 Flying Dragon or just play a big old Elder Gargaroth. I think we've reached that point. For now, I'll just attack in and see what happens. We're holding up a Demon Bolt or a Thrash if something weird happens. Nothing happened, so main phase 2. Play that out tapped. Would I rather hold Thrash or Demon Bolt up? Like, I can hold both up if I don't foretell the bolt, but if I foretell the bolt, then I'm holding up a Demon Bolt next turn, and I only have to hold up 1 mana to use it later in the game. I think I don't foretell the Demon Bolt here. That way I can use either of these cards, whichever ends up being better for me. Like, Thrash gains me some life because of the lifelink, but Demon Bolt can kill something slightly bigger. And I'm not so sure I'll need the mana reduction on Demon Bolt later, because next turn we're straight up spending all of our mana on a 5 mana card, and after that turn, we're pretty unlikely to have just like more 5 mana stuff to be having to do there. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and Thrash to gain life off of this fight. They have 1 mana up. I think Dragonkin Berserker gets to just make us a dragon here. They have to have Unsummon and use it pre-combat. Oh my god, we actually just get a dragon. Alright, Dragonkin Berserker might single-handedly get us there this game. Not often the Dragonkin Berserker makes it to the 5 mana to start spitting out dragons, but if it does, it's going to do a great job. Even just the 1 dragon there, we get to suit that up and hit for 6 trample lifelink in the sky. Although if I suit that up, I don't get to cast Gargaroth. It's probably better to cast Gargaroth than get in for 1 more damage. We're at 28, so the life gain does nothing for us. 1 hit from dragon puts them to lethal regardless in the future. Yeah, rather get another threat out. And this is where foretelling the Demon Bolt may have been better. But the thing is, if we foretold the Demon Bolt, we would have killed Rankle with it, so we wouldn't have it now anyway. But this is the point where we played a 5 mana card and nice. I won the game. but that wasn't really, that wasn't because I, like, outplayed them there. It was like they needed an answer, so they're just not going to take 2 lands. It doesn't matter what the third card is. They just got unlucky with 3 lands on top. But certainly looks cool when you can, like, get your opponent to just take a basic off of Atris. But they just didn't have a choice there. So we are 2-1, heading in to round 4. Decent start here, solid start. I don't think that I've gotten a 7-win Arena Cube draft, unfortunately. So, if we want to get one of those in, it's the last opportunity to do so with this Gruul aggro deck. Alright, opponent is on the play. We have multiple removal spells. We have a little bit of a curve. We have a 2-mana creature into a 3-mana creature, but the 3-mana creature will not be attacking for quite a while. Attacking or blocking, I should say. Yeah, Swordtooth definitely hasn't panned out in our deck. We started off with Phylath into Swordtooth to be kind of a land-based ramp deck, but we ended up much more aggressive where the Swordtooth is not great because it just doesn't attack or block as early as you would like it to. Playing against Jund so far, Rootbound Crag into Swamp. Gonna go ahead and feed the Swarm on our Llanowar Elves. Stop us from ramping into our 3-mana card. I think we would rather play the Kenra there anyway, because the Swordtooth won't be able to attack or block for a while. Although if we played the Swordtooth, we'd get to play our 3rd land there. If we still had our Llanowar Elves around. So we've seen a Swamp, Rootbound Crag, and Feed the Swarm. Not a ton of information to go on. I was going to say, we don't know if they're just Jund, or they could be 4 or 5 color. With Ministrant of Obligation here, there are at least 4 colors. That's a 2-1 Afterlife 2, so when it dies, they get 2 1/1s. Pretty good blocker. We're going to go ahead and exile that then, so that they don't get any more blockers out of it when it dies. We get to hit for 2 here. Again, not just slamming down the Swordtooth, because it doesn't really do much for us yet. Doom Foretold. Beginning of each player's upkeep, they sacrifice a non-land, non-token permanent. If they can't, they discard a card, lose 2 life, you draw a card, gain 2 life, and get a 2/2. So this is pretty bad for us when it goes off, but if we don't just let it go off, then it's atrocious for us, because we have to sacrifice every creature we play just for the rest of the game, just every turn sacrifice a thing. I think, literally, unless we just hit something that dumps a ton of tokens on the board, we're just going to let that go off. Actually, they have to sacrifice it themselves on their turn, don't they? Maybe we cast Fauna Shaman here? Beginning of each player's upkeep, they sacrifice a non-land, non-token permanent. So they have to sacrifice a non-land, non-token in their upkeep. So if they don't have a flash spell, they have to just sacrifice that. Maybe I'm supposed to play Fauna Shaman here then, if they have to just sacrifice that. I really hope I'm not misreading. I'm going to cast Fauna Shaman. I think it sacrifices itself. Okay, it does. Alright. Sorry, I'm not much of a constructed player, so the Arena Cube is always interesting to me, because a lot of the cards are just cards that I haven't played with until I play with them in Cube. That is just like, I exclusively play Limited, so a lot of these, they're just like Cube cards to me, like Fauna Shaman. Fauna Shaman, that's an Arena Cube card. I did play M11, so I knew of Fauna Shaman's existence before, but it was never like... It's never a card I had much experience with. I just never happened to open it or draft with it, unfortunately. That would have been cool. Imagine having a Fauna Shaman in a core set draft. I guess it might be just like slightly less good in a regular draft than a cube draft, because I think that Fauna Shaman's quality goes a lot up. Like it's a lot better the better your creatures are. And the more versatile your creatures are, so like creatures that can destroy things, creatures that can be played as lands, creatures that can come back from the grave, all that kind of stuff. Well, we get to attack with Swordtooth here, because we got much more than the City's Blessing now. Next turn we get to bring back Resilient Kenra, give something like +4/+4, attack for 1,000,000 there. Remorseful Cleric, oh, they get to exile the Kenra, but they are dead on board. Alright, so 3-1. Living it up here. No matter what, we're at a 3-3, nice average draft run. But we're going for gold here. We're going for the medal. Going for it all. Get our first trophy in the Arena Cube drafts in the final draft. Lucky number 7. Okay. Round 5 here, 3-1. What do we got? This is a pretty good opener. We would really like to hit 4 mana for Chariot. It's a little scary with only 2 lands, but we've got 1 land of each of our colors. We got Pashiri turn 1, Shadow Spear coming up. Yeah, we'll just play Pashiri here. If we hit a single other land, we can just start making 1/1s. To just chump block if our opponent's really aggressive. Or at least just give us something to do with our mana. We have hit the 3rd land at the very least, which is nice. I could hold up a Thrash, but I think it's almost definitely better to just get our Shadow Spear on the board. I think it's very unlikely we need to do 1 damage to something at instant speed. I actually don't like that I can't zoom in on that for you. Well, we'll probably Lava Coil that, because if that attacks, that is really bad for us. Yeah, do it pre-combat as well, so we can just chip in for 1 more damage here. Thrash is not going to do enough damage right now. It only does damage equal to our power, so we just do 1. Magda Brazen Outlaw. Well, Thrash is big enough to attack into that. However, especially with the potential to get a 4/4 Dragon token next turn, Essica's Chariot is by far the better play here. I can just let them do their Magda thing if they want. I'll offer the trade, though. No trade, so we just get in for 1. If we hit 1 more mana, we get a 4/4 Flying Dragon out of Sarkhan with the -3 ability. And then we could copy it with Essica's Chariot's ability whenever that attacks, and that would be massive. Oh yeah, Captivating Crew from our opponent, so they are tapped out. If we hit a mana, we do need specifically a red mana, so it'd be pretty lucky to hit it, but I got my fingers crossed. Alright, no Sarkhan yet, but we still have solid plays to go with Essica's Chariot. Attack in with it as a 4/4. I could even equip Shadow Spear to make sure it survives. But I can also use like Thrash and Threat. Could use Threat to make a 4/4 and then copy the 4/4 with the Chariots. But then I don't have the mana to save Essica's Chariot from dying. Yeah, I kind of like making sure Chariot's still on the board because it combos so well with this to make a 4/4, and it combos so well with the dragons from Sarkhan. So for now, I just attack in with it. If they double block, I can blow them out with Thrash. And if they don't block, I can just hold on to Threat to potentially copy 4/4s later. And this way they can't just trade Crew for the Chariot, which is good. Do I actually cast Threat before they can steal one of my creatures here? Like, what would they steal? They'd steal a 2/2, so absolutely not. Absolutely not, because they can't steal Chariot with it, so there's Yeah, there's no reason to threat there. Or thrash there, I mean. Get the card names mixed up. You're just going to send in the squad here. I'm at 25, so I'll just take it. I think every little bit of damage we could get on them is pretty massive now. They're down to 12, and we got a pretty big field. So we'll go down to 19. We also just have a lifelink equipment out, so we can gain more life off of that later. Sarkhan's Unsealing is the play. Do we have anything we can do end step here? We could thrash something, but we don't need to. Yeah, nothing to do here, really. Drawn to the Fauna Shaman. Now they can't block, so I think I'll just cast Threats. Crew with that, and then make another 4/4. That puts them to 1. We could not have lethaled them there, because the reason we got them to 1 is because we got to crew with a creature that just came out this turn. Sarkhan's Unsealing is pretty solid with the 7-power creature. Just wiped our whole board there. Oh no. Oh no. They're at 1. So... oh no, what do I do? Dracuzeth just kills me. Because Dracuzeth attacks 7 power and it does 4 damage to my face when it attacks me? I can't make any flying blockers? Oh no! Oh my god, that is a fitting way to lose. We like picked this early on in the first pack and now Sarkhan's Unsealing is back for revenge. It's like, you were supposed to draft around me, what did you do? Oh my god, we can't do anything here. I can attack in with just Essica's Chariot, but that doesn't do it. And the only way I can do that is if I play Bronchon on Elves. I have no way to lifelink anything here, because it costs 2 to equip that. We straight up lose? Oh my god. Sarkhan's Unsealing got us bad. Oh, I should have crewed Chariot in response to have 1 blocker. Doesn't matter, all they need to do is attack with Dracuzeth, but we had a response there we could have done. That was a devastating Sarkhan's Unsealing. Really coming back for revenge on us. Coming from our sideboard into our opponent's deck to demolish our plans. Alright, well, we're 3-2 now in round 6, so if we lose this one, we will end with another average 3-3 run. Been having pretty average drafts in the Arena Cube, so that would be on brand. But I would love to end it as we did the core set drafts. Just with an explosive finale, get our 7-win run. We got Fauna Shaman plus Arachneer here, which is pretty nice. Thalia has First Strike. So we're definitely not attacking in with Llanowar Elves. I think we just cast Fauna Shaman. We could cast Lava Coil. Just get it out of the way. But we get to start using Fauna Shaman immediately next turn if we just play Fauna Shaman first. But we're not really like casting something off of Fauna Shaman immediately. I'll just use Lava Coil. I don't really want to Fauna Shaman until late game here, so we can like discard Chainweb Arachne or get our Phylath or something really big. Find a way to close the game, because we already have 5 mana. Land Werewolves plus 4 lands. Ooh, Tor Elf here. Do need another red source for that. Fauna Shaman plus Shadow Spear seems solid. We just hit in for 1. Unlikely Land Werewolves ever gets to attack again, because now every time they play a creature, they do get a 1/1 out there. Holding on to Chainweb Arachne to discard it to Fauna Shaman's ability. I guess if we have 1,000,000 mana, we can start throwing Toralf's Hammer onto our creatures and Shadow Spear onto the same creature. Lifelinking, flinging our 3 damage at stuff. That's if we're going to play a really long game here. Oh, well, if we just naturally draw the Toralf, I'm not sure what we're getting off Chainweb Arachne, but we're getting something, because we're not attacking into a 4/5. Anything on board here. So let's see what you got, Fauna Shaman. What do you got for us? Wayward Swordtooth is interesting. 4, 5, 6, 7. Getting there. Getting towards Ascension off of that. We can cast any 3 mana card we pick up immediately. We could cast Thrashing Brontodon. We could also just take a Gargaroth, though, for our next turn play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we could cast that next turn, and we're not guaranteed to cast Phylath next turn. Yeah, Gargaroth seems real solid. I'll just get ready for that. So this is where having a deck tracker or just writing down your deck list on a sheet of paper is really helpful. So you can just see what kind of stuff you would want to pick up with Fauna Shaman, and figure out if you're going to want to use Fauna Shaman in your opponent's end step or during your turn, so you can just immediately cast whatever you hit. Excuse me. But yeah, ideally, obviously, if we ended up just picking up a Gargaroth, we'd rather have done it in their end step than during our turn, so that potentially Fauna Shaman would be able to block in the worst case scenario. It also gives them less information, not knowing that we're planning to drop a Gargaroth next turn. Oh dear. Our opponent is really going off. This is pretty terrifying. They've got a massive field. They have creatures that are large enough that Ronus can attack and block. Even if we kill Basri's Lieutenant somehow, they can use Ronus' 3 mana ability to buff one of their other creatures, make it big enough to attack block. This is looking real scary. The Shadow Spear is actually pretty neat here, because we can use it to shut off the Indestructible on Ronus, and they might not expect that. I think I like playing Gargaroth and holding Land Werewolves untapped here rather than playing Phylath. Phylath gives us like a bunch of chump blocking plants, but don't really want to chump block. This also leaves us open to be able to use Fauna Shaman if we want to do that instead, because we have our green mana still up. We have Fauna Shaman still untapped as well. Discard Toralf. Definitely not discarding Phylath here, but we could discard Toralf for something. Unfortunately, my deck tracker is not working today, and I did not write down my deck list, so I don't know if it's better to search for something off of Toralf or just hold on to Toralf. This is super bad. This is a very, very nice Selesnya tokens deck from our opponent here. They have so much on board, I think they can pretty freely just choose to slam the all-attack button from now on. And I couldn't see it going that poorly for them. Well, do I want to discard this Toralf? I'm almost guaranteed to just cast Phylath next turn. I don't even remember if I have that much more that's expensive. I'm just going to hold on to Toralf. I guess discarding the Toralf gets me closer to the Chainweb Arachne. Now we can cast Phylath, put the counters onto a plant, and hold up the ability to get rid of Ronus's Indestructible or use Fauna Shaman. So drawing a land was real great there. If I attack in with Elder Gargaroth, it probably just trades for Ronus. Trades for Ronus on blocks as well. I guess they have so many things on board. If I attack with this, they can just block with 3 2/2s. Yeah, that's horrible. Yeah, we cannot attack in right now. I don't know what kind of out we're searching for here, but it's got to be something explosive. Maybe like a Sarkhan's Unsealing. Unfortunately, we do not have a Sarkhan's Unsealing in our deck. We also did not end up with any 7-power creatures in the draft. Very, very few of those in the cube. So we just don't have any way to wrath somebody with a Sarkhan's Unsealing. Even if we did keep it in here. And at the very least, at least they're not able to just like kill us here. They have to wait a little while, but Karn's Bastion is a big help in that. That's going to start making these 3 bigger every turn. Eventually those will easily get big enough to keep attacking in. Maybe we're just playing Toralf's Hammer in this game. We're in a big board stall. This is like the position where it might just be Toralf's Hammer time. Just throw this onto like a plant. We could put it on Land Werewolves because Land Werewolves has lifelink. But then we can't tap Land Werewolves for mana. We only have 2 red mana, so we can't even use this the turn we play it anyway. Just throw this onto... I don't think it really... I'm going to throw it on a plant, I guess. The most expendable creature we have. Now I can play a Resilient Kenra, but the plus power isn't doing much. It's just another blocker. Probably still worth it. We do have 1 green mana up thanks to Land Werewolves that we can use towards... we can use towards getting rid of Indestructible if we need to. Actually... probably better to hold on to Kenra because of the fact that we can just bring Kenra back from the grave. So just throw a 4/4 into our grave and grab another creature. That's true. I totally forgot about the whole Fauna Shaman synergies with that card. That would have been quite a bit better. Should have just discarded Resilient Kenra during their end step, most likely. This is a pretty nuts game. Both kind of just staring each other down. We both have some ways to keep making our boards better. I guess my way is really to just make their board worse with the Toralf's Hammer, but any lands we get turn more creatures into 4/5s. I think that Karn's Bastion, with just how big their field is right now, is likely to outrace me currently. But we still have outs to this game. Like, we have great blocks on the ground. This is a suspicious attack. They have 1 card in hand. Worst case scenario, I do draw a card here off of this. Or make another beast. I have 25 cards in library. They have 26. I am milling out before them here. I don't think it's going to come to mill. Do I want to draw a card or just get another beast? I do want, like, millions of creatures on the ground. I'm going to draw a card, though, because I do really want to hit, like, more lands here. If we mill out this game, if this goes very long, it is my fault. Oh my god, I totally forgot about Ronus's ability. So this is a trade here, if they double pump. Yeah, I do get hit by the onboard trick, but the alternative is to just let that hit me for 6 lifelink every turn. So I think this is a trade I have to take regardless. Like, because until we can cast our Chainweb Arachnir, we can't kill that thing. And we need 2 more creatures in grave, or 2 more cards in grave to cast the Chain Web Arachneer. So that's just going to hit for 18 total damage if they swing with it 3 turns. I think that's a fine trade we just took there. We do have a land for these plants, which is good. Also good with the Toralf's Hammer. I think I once again just use all 6 mana towards the hammer, so I don't do any life gain here with moving the Shadow Spear around either. Shoot, Rishkar is probably the best option. They're tapped out here. I don't have enough red sources to shoot something again after this. If I did, I might like double shoot the warrior or something to stop their proliferate on at least one of those creatures. I actually should have just put that back on the tapped plant because we don't have any way to get the red mana to shoot immediately with it. So that way if we end up chump blocking with all of our creatures here, whatever we have equipped with Toralf's Hammer still survives, and I don't have to re-equip it later. So it would have been better to put it on the tapped plant or just the Llanowar Elf so I don't have to move lifelink around if I want to shoot something. But this is just a really weird board state all around. Administrative Obligation, and they get another little token there. I could see shooting Tristani twice here, potentially. Oh, or we just draw Demon Bolt. I do like Demon Bolting a Tristani. So their 4/4 Vigilant creatures are now going to be 5/5 Vigilance. So I think I'm at the point where I like having one like really big plant. So the really big plant can block the 5/5s or the Bosri's Lieutenant. Let's try, before anything else, shooting Tristani and see if this happens. I feel like I'm about to just get got by some kind of onboard trick I'm forgetting because the board state is insane. Nope. We got Tristani. Ooh, that actually means they don't have enough mana to proliferate, do they? Do they have any mana producing creatures? They don't have enough mana to proliferate, so I get to kill one of the things they're trying to proliferate onto here. That is fantastic. Oh, they do just get a 2/2 out of it, but the 2/2 does not have any counters on it. I do want to make one really big plant. But then I'm going to make these others 4/5s as well. Oh, why did it double red? I was being diligent on the auto-tapping until then, and then the auto-tapper was just like, let's use all the red mana, because you have no green abilities you can use right now. So it makes perfect sense, you see. I don't have anything to discard to Fauna Shaman, so good old auto-tapper. It actually costs us quite a bit here, because we had enough mana to throw that hammer onto a plant if we just had one more red mana up. Now we can't spam the hammer as efficiently next turn. Resilient Kenra. With how things have gone at this point, I think without the misplays made over this game, I think we could be in a really good position here. Because had we actually discarded Tefana Shaman, discarded our Resilient Kenra Tefana Shaman, our Kenra would be like a 4/4 right now, and we would be able to have searched up like a Brontodon to kill Oketra's Monument, stop them from getting just a million creatures. I think I'll trade my 8/9 into Ronus if they attack with Ronus. Well, I don't attack with Ronus, okay. Yeah, we don't have anything to do in the end step. Draw a Vioshino Pyromancer. It's almost definitely better to just spend more mana on Toralf's Hammer's abilities than it is to cast that. Karn's Bastion's tapped, so we kill their other +1/+1 counter dork here. We could start getting rid of their 2/2s. And I like putting the hammer just onto a plant again rather than gaining life, because Vioshino Pyromancer is just not good right now, so we can discard that to Fauna Shaman. We still have 21 cards in deck, so I don't think we'll end up milling out here. I think we're actually starting to get to a spot where we might be able to find some way to crack through their board state. The only creature they're proliferating onto is Lieutenant now, and Hammer's just going to start shredding the rest of their squad slowly. Uh-oh. Well, that changes everything. Mikaeus the Lunarch can put a +1/+1 counter on all of their creatures by tapping itself. That being said, it doesn't have haste, so we can just kill it with Hammer next turn, right? Yeah, we've got 8 mana, we can kill it with Hammer next turn. Alright, and that is 100% what we have to do. Discard this Pyromancer, it's not doing us any good here. Dragonkin Berserker. Brontodon's okay. Ooh, the Life Crafter is solid too. So I like Life Crafter and I like Brontodon best here. Brontodon to kill the Monument, Life Crafter to start pooping out our own creatures. I think I'll go with Life Crafter. We can make really big creatures off of her. And if we hit a land, like so, we can even kill Lunarch and play her this turn. I guess we could have done that anyway, but now we can do the abilities 3 times and play her. And still have Llanowar Elves untapped. Do I need Llanowar Elves untapped? No, I'm not discarding a creature here, so I'm actually going to use Lifelink. Should I? No, 2/2s are good to block the 1/1s. We'll still just use a plant. Oh, I had to play the mountain first if I wanted to play without tapping down Llanowar Elves. There's just too much going on for my puny mortal brain to handle this game. I'll put it on an untapped plant. Ovia Pashiri definitely our win condition now, I think. Unless they delete her immediately. Primal Might, fight Pashiri. Yep, she is deleted. Tender Shoot Dryad, well, that is gonna get hammered for sure. This is the arena cube draft where we all get hammered. Just do this land before I do anything else so I don't like mess it up. Alright. Go ahead and throw it on the life linker this time. For one time, we'll gain some life when we do it. I guess that does make Land Werewolves a pretty big target, but yeah, the mana from Land Werewolves is still useful because we have such an absurd mana sink like the Toralf's Hammer. Six mana every time we do it, so we spend 2 and then we get to spend 6. We can do 6 damage to something. We can't kill Bosri's Lieutenant, or they can respond with Karn's Bastion. Yeah, 2 to pick it up, 2 to play, 2 to shoot, 2 to cast. So 2, 6. Then we can equip it again. We can't quite kill Karn's Lieutenant if they proliferate. If we hit another land, I think we can. We did not. I can Fauna Shaman that away. Pick up our Brontodon, but we're down to 17 cards now. I think now I am actually a little worried about milling out. Start killing 2/2 knights. Start lowering their creature count, so we might be able to start punching in with something each turn. We're getting really close to a position where we should start attacking. And we may have already been there. But these gigantic, insane board states are definitely not where I strive, or where I thrive. I don't know, words. I actually might have been a little too greedy there, because now I can't shut off Ronus's indestructibility. Needed to hold 1 mana up to do that. So we can't block and kill Ronus. Alright, they're going to scoop him up, though. Toralf's Hammer does give us some inevitability. It will take quite a while, but we can get rid of the whole board eventually. That was a big one. That was a long game. We're 4-2 now. We've beaten the 3/3 curse. We're above average. That's what I tell myself when I wake up. Very slightly. We're a 4-3 player. We are 4-2 right now, though, so we may be highly above average this time if we win any more games. That would be sweet. This is a great aggressive start. 3-1 turn 2. We got a 5-4 turn 4. We got Essica's Chariot. Oh, we're gonna play Essica's Chariot before Toralf here, but this start is pretty great. Might play Pyromancer before Rimrock Knight, so I might actually get to cast Boulder Rush for some value. We'll see. Yeah, Boulder rushing into that would be some value if they try to block, but I feel like they'll just be attacking. That being said, now we can Pyromancer turn 2, Mammoth turn 3. We can Boulder Rush later on for some value, we'll see. Don't have to do it immediately. It is possible that they hold that back for blocks. I don't think I'll attack into that if I don't draw another red source, because then my plan will be to attack it in Boulder Rush, and that's all I'm doing. But if we draw another red source, Boulder Rush and then casting Rimrock Knight's pretty good. Same goes for Cosima here. We can make Pyromancer 2/4 on blocks. Well, now we can Boulder Rush and still cast a card outside of it, so I think it's worth the attack here. I think it's just not worth the attack if my response to them blocking is going to be just only casting a pump spell and then ending up with no creatures on board. Mammoth's pretty good here. It gets to attack as a 5/5 next turn. So Cosima is going to be drawing a bunch of cards later on. It gets a Voyage counter every turn, and then when it comes back, it gets a +1/+1 counter, and they draw a card for each Voyage counter it has. So it happens whenever they landfall, I suppose. So this is the first Voyage counter. Very confusing card. If she's exiled, put a Voyage counter on her. And if you don't put the counter on, then you put her back on the field. Okay. So she's at 1 counter now. If they bring her back, she's at 3/5 and they draw a card. Otherwise, she'll be at 2 loyalty. Or 2 voyage. Okay, so 1 voyage it is. 3/5. Well, Kazandu Mammoth's big enough to attack into that. And big enough to thrash that off the board. Potentially. I actually do like that quite a bit. Just getting aggro here. Yeah, but the other half of threat, being able to make a 4/4 and then copy the 4/4 with Essica's Chariot is also great. We do hit for 7 here if we just thrash. And then we can just play a 3/1 this turn. We'll just get classically aggro here. But we definitely had some other fun plays as options. Our opponent is on 4 colors here. They got black, red, blue, green. Could be a Golos Field deck. Could be a Niv Mizzet deck. Multiple reasons to be a lot of colors in this cube. There comes Haka, the Whispering Raven, and Resilient Kenra, just as some blockers. There's another red source, so we could just use Torolf's Hammer to just kill the Raven here. We don't have to worry about it any longer. Actually, we need 6 mana to do that, don't we? 2 mana to play it. 2 mana to equip it, 2 mana to unattach. Okay. I should know this by now. We just played it a million times last game. Kind of like just Essica's Chariot here, then. We only attack with the 3/1 because the 2/1 can just get walled off by the Raven. They can bring back the Kenra as a 4/4, but they have to spend all of their mana to do that, so it's still worth getting the 2/2 off the board here. And Ovia Pashiri, again, great with Essica's Chariot, potentially, because next turn we can just make a 5/5 and then copy the 5/5 with Chariot by crewing the Chariot with the 5/5. We have 5 creatures right now, so unless they kill something, Pashiri will make a 5/5. Alright. It's also uncounterable because it's just an ability. I think it's our best play here. We could try to push for lethal with Primal Might, but the fact that they didn't just cast Kenra means they absolutely have something instant speed here. And with double blue, it's possible it can be a counterspell. So I'm just going to go for the ability they can't stop and make a 5/5 here. And then we'll make another 5/5 if we manage to crew the chariot with this. If that all resolves here. Yeah. That is pretty devastating. Said it before, but definitely one of the most powerful cards in the whole cube. It can really turn a game around. At least the only creature they had out was a legendary, though, so it's not, like, so disastrous here. Like, we still have a big chance of this game, but that often just absolutely devastates somebody, and luckily it wasn't actually that bad for us. We're still in a great position here. I just saw Sublime Epiphany. I saw Sublime Epiphany, and I don't know, that anytime I see this card just show up over here, I always just brings back terrifying memories of M21 drafts. That was always just like, oh, we've lost now. Well, we haven't actually lost here. Well, now they have only 1 mana up. They did have the counterspell, so I'm really glad I didn't Primal Might. We would have gotten blown out harder had we done that. If I Primal Might, what am I killing? Just kill one of the blockers, make like Bashiri big enough to crew Chariot. If they want to kill Chariot, they have to double block it. Yeah, I kind of like killing just like the Raven here. Actually, if I just do 1, Mammoth can kill the Raven. And then I can also cast Fauna Shaman this turn. That seems pretty solid. But now I'm not crewing the Chariot with 1 creature. I have to crew it with Fauna Shaman and a cat. Yep, gain a life and get a counter on the ooze. Maybe killing the ooze would have been better just because it can gain life. So Fauna Shaman comes out. Go ahead and crew here. If they block Chariot with a double block, there's no more creatures, are there? Oh no, they can exile their own creatures? Oh wow, I really should have killed Scavenging Ooze. So now it's a 1-for-1 trade, Chariot on Ooze. If I attack in with just Chariot, Chariot trades for Ooze, or they take 4 and go to 3. If I attack with everybody, I lose like a 2/1 or a cat. I am replacing that cat by sending in here. But I get 2 more damage in. That's probably good when they're down to 7 here. They're going to take the 4 then and go to 3. Torolf's Hammer getting really close to lethal if we get to use that. The Great Henge. Oh no, more life gain. More life gain is pretty devastating. Gain 2, go to 5, and then they gain 2 more, exiling 2 more creatures with Scavenging Ooze. Yeah, just gain 2 life every turn with that. And they draw a card off of every creature they play. They played a Tal'arin now. Yeah, not killing that Scavenging Ooze is really going to come back to bite me here, because I think we probably would have been able to push in for lethal between this turn and last turn had we killed the Ooze. If I cast Twirl, I get to Crew Chariot with that and send in, but I can also just use Bashiri here. But then Ooze blocks as a 5/5, so they kill the Chariot when I attack with it, and that is not awesome. I have enough mana to use the Toralf's Hammer, but I only use it 1 time here. And Great Henge, they gain 2 life a turn. They can outpace the damage from Hammer, or at least match it because of Ooze and Great Henge. So we can't really kill them with the Hammer going off. Unless they just go to 3 this turn somehow. Is there any way I could possibly put them to 3 here? Because that might be the one way out of this one. Because if I Crew Chariot, Chariot dies, but I get 2 5/5s. But then Ooze is just going to be big enough. They also, all the rest of their creatures come in with counters. So like Kenra comes in as a 5/5. They can definitely trade on blocks. Any way to push them down to 3 here. I don't think there is, because even if a single one of my 2/2s gets in, Ooze gains them a life, so... Oops. I want to use that first. Then I'm going to crew with that. So yeah, we're not going for the Hammer lethal this turn, we're just going for the... get a couple 5/5s. So if I attack with Chariot, Chariot just upgrades itself into a 5/5, but it dies to the Ooze without killing anything. I think it's worth the attack here just to upgrade it. Like, Scavenging Ooze straight up beats Chariot, but we just make Chariot a 5/5 here instead. Or make another 5/5, I should say. I am fully aware that Chariot is getting got on this attack. But now we have 2 creatures that if a single one of them hits our opponent's face, they go to like 2. Well, no, because Great Henge gains 2 more life. Play that land so we can spend all 6 on Hammer next turn. If we want to start doing that. Suppose I could have tried to bait a Scavenging Ooze block if I just did nothing with my mana that turn. I just crewed with the cats and then sent in Chariot for a cat there. Then if they just block with Scavenging Ooze, we can finish it off with the Toralf's Hammer. It's a potential option. Well, opponent is now fully stabilized, so the game's just over. Gain 2 a turn, they go to 11, then 13, then 15. We can Hammer, but there's no way that we outpace that. We have 3 2/2s and the Toralf available. I'm just going to scoop them up here. Finish off the Arena Cube drafts there. A little sad about that last game. That was some very poor threat assessment on my part with the Primal Might. We definitely needed to kill Scavenging Ooze. It was our only hope there. And I think we could have pushed in aggressively enough had we killed the Ooze to kill them there. If we didn't find a way to kill them in the next 2 turns, like either way, we just get handed to us by the Great Henge. But yeah, killing the Whispering Raven was very not ideal. So we will end the Arena Cube drafts there with a nice 4-3 Gruul aggro run. slightly above average, as always. That's me, ya boy. But yeah, that is going to end all of the April Arena Cube drafts of this cube. Next time the Arena Cube comes back, it will be all with, well, not all new cards, but with some new cards, at the very least with cards from Strixhaven if it comes back before the D&D set. And possibly with more historic anthology cards. We don't know. We don't know when those are coming, and all of that. So, as always, at the end of the video, thank you all very much for watching. And if you want to see more of this content, do everything you're doing. Stick around, like, comment, subscribe. All of the good stuff. The support has been pretty great this year, and I appreciate it a lot. Yeah, we got a lot of exciting content right around the corner. Strixhaven is literally a day away, and I will be diving deep into that format. We will have daily Strixhaven drafts for quite a while. So as always, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.